Ladies and gentlemen, this is a for-passenger announcement. Would all for passengers please remain seated until a further announcement is made shortly regarding your disembarkation. Strictly prohibited due to the serious risk of fire. Please do not start your engines until advised to do so.
So I have a huge amount of optimism for the future. I just wish people would stop telling our kids the world's coming to an end and that we're evil, that we're the enemies of nature. Kind of like that's where I departed Greenpeace. It was when the environmental movement turned from being humanitarian to stop nuclear war, to stop toxics in the environment, which were all dangerous to people, to becoming anti-human basically and saying that humans are the enemies of the earth. And I don't believe that.
Dr. Patrick Moore, you've spent your entire life in this. You are a scientist. You have a PhD in ecology. You've thought about and focused on carbon for more than 25 years now as a focus of your work. Does it not cause you frustration that even you keep running into so many obstacles in getting people to listen to what you have to say?
Well, what has happened is a new cult religion has been born on the issue of climate.
Okay, how do I find where there actually is truth?
Well, where there's truth is that carbon is the basis of all life on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And where there's truth is that carbon dioxide is the source of that carbon for all life on Earth. And it's also true that for the last 600 million years, of which we have a reasonable record, CO2 has been declining in the global atmosphere to the point where at the peak of the last glaciation, when the oceans absorb more CO2 than they do when they're warm, it was cold, CO2 dropped to 180 parts per million.
Yeah.
And that is only 30 parts per million above the death of plants. And it is... It's a really interesting story because it's life itself that has sucked the CO2 out of the atmosphere over the millennia and put it into fossil fuels, but that's a very minor part of it. The big part of it is what's called carbonaceous rocks, limestone, chalk, and marble. 100 million billion tons of carbonaceous rock represent carbon dioxide pulled out of the atmosphere. And because the Earth has cooled over the millennia, nature is no longer putting CO2 into the atmosphere to offset this. So the curves are there. CO2 has been declining to where it is getting close to the end of plant life. And another 1.8 million years, if you just take that line and draw it straight down, another 1.8 million years, life would begin to die on planet Earth for lack of CO2.
Not because of an excess.
There is no such thing as an excess of CO2 under any real world circumstance.
Well, the message out there is pretty clear that there is such a thing.
No, there isn't. Because it's proven fact, for example, that greenhouse growers they actually buy CO2 in bottles.
Well, I know, they pump it in.
They pump it in to get it up to 1,000 parts per million. The optimum CO2 level for plant growth, which when you think about it is the basis of all the animal life on Earth. All the things that are not plants depend on the plants for their existence. The sugars the plants produce through photosynthesis are the energy supply for the whole world. What are those sugars made out of? Water and carbon dioxide. And when you burn fossil fuels, which are the result of photosynthesis, what do you get? Water and carbon dioxide and some contaminants, which we know how to clean. But that's what basically comes out of the tailpipe, water and CO2. Plants take those two things and turn them into glucose, sugar, and everything else goes from there. So CO2 is the food of life. It is the foundation of all life. Is that hard to understand?
It seems.
So even if we run out of fossil fuels and the CO2 starts going down again, say 3 million years from now, humans will still be here 3 million years from now. You see, I'm that optimistic. So what we can do is we can keep the CO2 in the global atmosphere at a good level for plants for hundreds of millions of years, because that carbonaceous rock, which we can easily dig out of the ground and burn, either to make cement or eventually maybe just to make CO2, the food of life.
I try to explain that to people and I get blank stares and
Yes.
outright hostility.
Because they have actually an ideology or a religious belief system that makes them reject even the basic truth that carbon dioxide is the most important food for life on Earth, along with water. Those two things.
Methane, and that is that if you get 1 degree of warming from doubling CO2, so going from, say, 400 parts per million for simplicity to 800, that doubles it. Suppose that causes 1 degree of warming. Then to get another degree of warming, you have to double 800, so you have to go to 1600. So you have to double it again. So it gets harder and harder to warm. Technically, they call that the logarithmic dependence of temperature rise on CO2 concentration.
According to Marxists, the ideology of the ruling class generates false consciousness. False consciousness is the way in which the ruling class mislead the proletariat into believing that they are not being exploited. We've seen this referred to by Althusser as the ideological state apparatus, and this includes both education and the media. Althusser also suggested that religion forms part of the ideological state apparatus. Furthermore, a belief in a religion does not necessarily mean subscription to the ideology that religious institutions promote. For some, religion is not concerned with strict adherence to religious doctrine, but rather with connecting with the sense of belonging to something that has elements the individual believes in.
I think actually we've done a pretty good job, and we need to keep refining it. I mean, sustainable development or sustainability is not an end game. It's about continuing to improve our relationship with nature and each other. Do it.
The stone alone was meaningless, and man homeless without the stone. So in fire the mighty worm was born, and he cleaved the stone in twain with his first breath drawn. So the stars were set in place, The past lain out ahead, the boulder balanced, the henge key turned, the pyramid's foundation laid. So the dream within now breathes again, to light that flame of immortal craft, to cast the philosopher's stone, to bear that future past. What expressions might the earth carry away from those who stand upon it? What might you commit today to those who shall inherit? Know now well, the dreamer in you must learn to answer true. So channel your line into the dark unseen, leave for the dead those battles for dirt mundane, carve deep beneath the present's grain for that wisdom of the great unknown. So awakes the dreamer from those visions of youth, sent across the teeming ages. So sings the stone, and lo, the dreamer listens. "12,000 years later, those few disconnected groups of human survivors have evolved distinct characteristics, distinct societies. Their battle against the elements through the millennia has paid off. These diverse human breeds have groped their way back to strong populations and now, once again, are converging to form a new human race. What will those new faces see of our great civilization's technological prowess? Will our bridges and towers still stand for them to admire? Will our magnificent ships lie in port? Will our books and flash drives reveal to them our great intelligence? English is a hypothetical point of linguistic convergence somewhere deep in prehistory. Strange coincidences for the eccentric scholar to puzzle over. Those products our hands made from organic materials are long gone. Landfill sites now are occasional complex mineral deposits in the process of being consumed by the earth. Aye, rest assured, our dreaded plastics have decomposed and more. Iron, steel, aluminium, tin and brass have all long corroded away. Salts in the sea and the air nearby have consumed those stainless steels within their reach. Cars have crumbled into deposits of mineral-rich dirt and sludge. Only their windows remain. Concrete multi-story car parks and overpasses have fallen long ago and degraded into rubble and gravel along with the asphalt about them. The Channel Tunnel is a geological feature. Populations of paupers have looted accessible sites for millennia, stripping them of useful materials. Much stone has been reused, worn and recut again over the passing centuries. Some of our city sites lie beneath ancient forests, others beneath deep desert. Some are patches of treacherous ground where trains and cables once snaked deep underground. Some have been swallowed whole by the sea to become anomalies beyond the new coastline for the romantic historian to daydream over. Yet we are present still, in our grand earthworks and structures of stone, those remaining recognizable after thousands of years of wind and rain. Tiny gems we cut, yet lie in the soil unpicked where watches once fell. A golden necklace and a platinum wedding ring, a cursed cavern from which strange new breeds emerge. Aye, we are mystifying remains. We are speeding stars. We are minuscule flags on the moon.